I'd like to read a poem, one of my favourite poems by the Irish writer Paul Hutchinson from his 1990 collection Daddy Daddy, which I thoroughly recommend. This is one of the highlights for me in that book, and it's called The Sign of Peace. Being a middle-aged woman, I do not often attend Mass. But when I do, the part I like is the bit where everybody is meant to give one another the sign of peace. The priest intones, in the name of Christ Jesus, let us give one another the sign of peace. This morning, when I found myself next a bald, small man with fiery eyes, I felt the spurt of something in my side, and when it came to the sign of peace, without thinking about it, I turned around as if in a trance and kissed him on both cheeks. His eyes flapped their wings at me and flew low across his cheeks, and he pushed out his two arms around me, and standing on tippy toes, he kissed me one quick peck on the lips. I could hear the gates of heaven clang open wide, and choirs of angels serenading us with raised spears. You can imagine my surprise when at lunchtime I get a phone call from the parish priest to say that the annual house-to-house parish collection was being made this afternoon, and that envelopes were to be returned not later than Wednesday, and that, by the way, my dear child of God, the sign of peace is never given in the form of a kiss. The sign of peace is given always in the form of a handshake. The cheek of it. I love that poem because it wrestles with fundamental issues of sex, bodies, spirituality, tradition, language, peace. And it has been running around in my head these last few weeks, particularly those last lines where the priest is saying the sign of peace can only be given one way, in the form of a handshake. In the form of a handshake. And in these coronavirus times, a handshake is not a sign of peace. In fact, it could be viewed as an act of violence, as a sign of provocation. And so the question in my head is, how might we show, be, do, create new signs of peace in these strange times? When we cannot shake a hand, what does our tradition give us, help us with? What might other traditions give, help us with? And many of these signs, I believe, will be private, hidden, with your family, being gentle on yourself. And some of it will be engaging in the public, connecting with those in the front lines, supporting them, lifting them up. And so my question out of this poem is, how do we think about, create, form, practice signs of peace in an age when handshakes are forbidden?